Everyone, the future is here. The year is 2020. Well, almost. So it's hardly a surprise that by now, each of us has the power to control a great many things that matter most to us. We can transfer thousands of pounds across the world in just a few taps, no matter if we're sitting at home or walking the dog. We can navigate the complexities of our city by having all the information we need to take us to our goal destination in a single place. We can even choose the perfect people for us to meet and get to know based on our personal preferences. But could we say the same for our health? Can you get medical care on the go, whether you're sitting at home or walking the dog? Can you navigate the complexities of your healthcare by having all the information you need to achieve your health goals in a single place? Can you choose the perfect treatments and care plans for you based on your personal preferences? It doesn't feel quite right that health is so important to us, arguably more important than all these other needs, and yet we can't say yes to these questions. What's more, countless studies have shown that not only do we desire this control, our health outcomes would actually be better for it. What people often forget is that patients bring a lot to the table too. Improved health outcomes in turn reduce the burden on healthcare systems, like the NHS, and helps them to exist more sustainably. Taking control of our health is clearly a win-win-win situation. So why don't we have it already? Well, you see, to have control, you need to have two things: knowledge and choice. And in each of these cases, at least one or the other is missing. I'm going to show you how the evolution of health tech will hand you those missing pieces, and in doing so, put you in control of your health in ways you might only dream of right now. To explore that evolution fully, we have to start from the very beginning. And in the beginning, there was pretty much zero tech in healthcare. In fact, let's go all the way back to ancient Babylonian times. I'm talking 3,200 BC ancient. Now, Babylon, the namesake of our company, Babylon Health, ultimately became famous for its progressive medical practices, but not before it had its fair share of wacky ideas. If you got sick back then, let's say you had epilepsy, you'd have to seek out your local asipu. You can think of them as a part-time priest, part-time exorcist, and part-time healer. Now, assuming they weren't too busy with their many other duties, the asipu would recite a spell in the ears of a young male goat, kill the goat, mix parts of its head with different plants and oils, make you drink it all up, and then make you smoke the goat. And that would cure both your epilepsy and your demonic attacks in one go. As a patient back then, you'd have been pretty helpless when it came to your health, having to place all your trust blindly in whichever healer you could find. You had very little knowledge of your own health, and you had a very limited set of choices you could make. You had virtually no control. Put bluntly, your only choice was to comply or die. Except, as the medical advice often wasn't that sound, you'd probably still die, even if you complied. Thankfully, things are a bit better nowadays. To a limited extent, you can choose a doctor, you can choose between public and private care, and you can even sort of choose between different treatment options, but there's still a long way to go. To bring to life just how little control you have, even now with standard modern healthcare, I want you to picture yourself in the shoes of Jane. Jane's at work when she notices a strange-looking rash appear on her arm. She's not sure what to do and is worried it could be something serious. She considers going to A&E or maybe her local GP, but that's over an hour away, and she's got an important client meeting later on that she doesn't want to miss. So Jane does what everyone does and consults Dr. Google. Now, we all know that's a risky business, because now Jane's convinced she's got meningitis. Obviously, Jane's alarmed, so she decides to go to A&E. But based on her symptoms, the A&E nurses triage her to the lowest priority, and she ends up waiting for 4 hours, only to be told she's got harmless hives that can be easily treated with antihistamines. What a frustrating day for Jane. If only she had easy access to reliable medical knowledge. If only she got to choose where she receives care. And if only she got to choose when she receives care. Enter new health tech, like the type that Babylon Health offers. Let's see how different Jane's journey could have been. Jane's at work when she notices a strange-looking rash on her arm. She doesn't know what to do. She considers going to A&E or maybe her GP. But this time, Jane consults her AI symptom checker. And it tells her that the cause of her symptoms is unlikely to be severe, so she doesn't need to go to A&E, but it's worth still getting checked by a GP at some point soon. So Jane books a virtual consultation and gets to see a doctor during her mid-morning coffee break without even having to leave the office. Jane shows the doctor her rash by the video call. The doctor diagnoses it as hives and writes her a prescription that's sent to the pharmacy a 5-minute walk away from her office. Jane's reassured. She's taken her antihistamines, and she even has an hour spare to prepare for her client meeting. Look at the control that's now in her hands. And by the way, this isn't just theoretical. Babylon users report experiences like this every week. And that's just scraping the surface of what health tech could offer you. If I told you that health tech could soon give you control over how fast you get better when you're sick, control over whether you even get sick in the first place, and control over whether you live or die, well, you might think I'm just as bonkers as those ancient Babylonian goat-smoking healers. But I'm willing to bet that once the next 5 minutes are up, you're going to believe it just might be possible not too long from now. First, I want to share with you a sad story. A few weeks back, a friend was telling me about how her brother recently passed away suddenly. He was in his mid-40s, reasonably fit, and left behind a heartbroken wife and 2 kids. It turned out that he had sudden arrhythmic death syndrome, which is where someone dies suddenly of cardiac arrest. No obvious cause can be found, and there's often no telltale symptoms beforehand. That could happen to any one of us. Pretty scary, right? But in the not too distant future, the story doesn't have to go like this. Instead, you might find yourself getting a call from your GP telling you, "Hey Jane, I don't mean to cause you alarm, but I'm concerned you're at an elevated risk of having a cardiac event in the next 24 hours. Come to the clinic so we can make sure that doesn't happen." Now, doctors are pretty talented people, but who would have thought they could predict the future too? Of course, they can't actually predict the future, but a smart disease prediction AI could. And there are several leading research institutions working on this right now. By analyzing big data that you generate over time, from the electrical signals in your heart to how much sleep you're getting every night, even how stressed you're feeling, AI will soon be able to predict when you're deviating dangerously from the norm and let you know, giving you the power to do something about it before it's too late. Too late isn't limited to an acute life-threatening crisis like heart attack. Too late could be the emergence of a chronic illness like bowel disease or Alzheimer's. And work is already being done using AI to predict if you'll develop chronic diseases. And at Babylon, we're taking this a step further by simulating how your future disease risk might be different if you were to change an aspect of your lifestyle within your control. For instance, based on data on your diet, family history, and chronic conditions, plus wealth of information from other people like you, our simulations might tell you that if you were to exercise 3 more hours per week, your risk of developing heart disease would drop by 30%, giving you control in the form of actionable knowledge. One of the techniques we use to do this is called counterfactual inference. Sounds complicated, but actually the effects are pretty intuitive. Essentially, counterfactual inference gives us the ability to separate causation from correlation. Now, why is this so important? Well, if we didn't separate causation from correlation, then we might believe that storing more uranium causes more maths PhDs to be awarded, just because the two things increase at almost exactly the same rate. Or maybe that Nicolas Cage appearing in films causes people to drown by falling into pools. Or maybe even that eating cheese causes people to die by getting tangled in their bed sheets. Developing this ability to separate causation from correlation applies not only to predicting disease in patients, but also to predicting how patients respond to treatment, which paves the way for personalized medicine. With an understanding of how your individual demographics, genetics, and lifestyle cause the way your body responds to treatment, you no longer have to make do with medicine that clinical trials have decided are good enough for the average person. Instead, you'd have the choice to take medicine that's carefully tailored to you to maximize effectiveness and minimize side effects, helping you get better faster and more comfortably. As if that's not enough, all these predictive abilities could be turbocharged using something we call dense telemetry. And by dense telemetry, I mean the continuous measurement of highly dense and detailed information created as a byproduct of you just being you. So information like the way you type on your smartphone, your vocal characteristics when you talk to your Alexa, even your posture and gait as you walk around. When AI processes information from dense telemetry, it can offer you a whole new level of control over your health by supporting your decision-making in a way that simply wouldn't be possible with human doctors alone. Because machines are optimized for processing petabytes of data and finding salient patterns quickly in a way that humans are not. Something that underlies all these types of control we talked about just now is the need to harness the renewable energy of healthcare by ensuring that information from each area of your care is used to enhance all other relevant areas of your care. And all of this serves to create a connected and streamlined experience that revolves around you. All of this sounds pretty good, right? Feels like we couldn't get this tech soon enough. So, what's stopping us? Well, the technology not being mature enough is one thing, but there's actually something else more pressing. And that thing is lack of trust from doctors, institutions, as well as patients like you. And that lack of trust is understandable. In fact, it's expected of a smart consumer. After all, what really happens behind the scenes of a smart AI? What if something goes wrong and it makes a mistake that could cost lives? Where does your health data go once it disappears into the AI black box? It's our responsibility to win your trust, and there's a few ways we can do that. For a start, we need to protect the data you share with us carefully. For example, at Babylon, we'll ask you if you're happy for our AI to learn from your data to create a better and more powerful service for everyone. And for those of you who say yes, we always remove your personal identifiers before it goes anywhere near our AI. And we never share your data with anyone else without your permission. We also need to put more emphasis on improving machine learning model explainability and interpretability. This will help us understand how our algorithms make decisions. Just being able to explain our models and algorithms isn't enough, though, if the models themselves are unfair. Gender biases exist not only in the design of everyday objects that you heard Caroline talking about this morning, they also exist in the design of AI systems, which is why at Babylon we're building tools to detect and remove bias from algorithms. Ultimately, we need to treat our software algorithms with the same scrutiny that we treat prescription drugs. They should only enter the market once they're proven to be clinically safe and effective. To make all this happen, we need everyone to come together to build what I call rational trust in health tech. Rational trust is the opposite of the blind trust that the ancient Babylonians had to place in their magical healers. Rational trust is grounded in hard evidence, fairness, and mutual respect. And there's different roles we can each play in building rational trust. Health tech organizations can prioritize those objectives we talked about just now. Regulators and policymakers can make those objectives into minimum acceptance criteria. Clinicians can reframe their relationships with patients as ones of partnership and shared decision-making. Importantly, we should remember that with the rights of control come responsibility. So we as patients should reflect on whether we're really ready to take on greater responsibility of our health, bearing in mind that it's not just our own health that will be impacted, but also the health of others around us. If I'm honest, I believe that most of us aren't quite ready yet. The prospect of going from being a passenger to being in the driving seat of your health like that is kind of terrifying. But I believe that having that control and the responsibility that comes with it is well worth it. I'm going to finish with an analogy to illustrate why. If healthcare was a game, you'd be playing against advancing diseases that are doing their best to take you down. The rules are clear. There's only a limited set of moves you can make. Winning or losing depends on making the right move at the right time, all while taking your opponent's ever-shifting position into account. Health tech can offer two things that will forever change the game in your favor. Those two things are knowledge and choice. Health tech will tell us whether making a certain move will bring us closer to sickness or to good health. Health tech will let us call on experts for their help whenever we choose and wherever we choose to be. Health tech can offer us predictive powers that map out the likely trajectory of diseases so we can choose to intercept their course before it's too late. Health tech will put control of your health in your own hands. When your health is a game you can't afford to lose, wouldn't you want to have the best chance at winning? Thank you.